So we are going to start pseudo force. What is pseudo force? First, let us try to understand what is pseudo force. So consider an example. Suppose we have a bus and the bus is suppose going forward, and suppose you are inside the bus, and if the bus starts suddenly, means it is accelerating. The bus starts suddenly means it is accelerating with acceleration a naught, suppose. Then you experience a sudden backward force, or you experience a backward direction jerk. So that force is pseudo force actually. Are you getting? If the bus is accelerating, then if bus starts suddenly, then you experience a backward direction sudden force. That force is pseudo force. I am giving some more examples to you. Suppose you are in a bike, you are sitting at the back seat of bike, and the person starts the bike suddenly. You may fall behind of the bike. Why? Because if the bike accelerates, suppose the bike accelerates, then if the bike accelerates, you are sitting here, you experience a pseudo force in backward direction, and the bike move forward and you fall behind. Okay, so that is also example of pseudo force. So these things can also be explained with the help of concept of inertia. So this all things are related actually. Another example, if the same bus, suppose in the same bus, if the brake is applied, then you feel a sudden force in the forward direction. Okay, so that is also example of the pseudo force. So what we can conclude from this all these observations is, if we provide a sudden acceleration in forward direction, then we experience a force in backward direction. So the pseudo force which we are going to learn is this virtual force which is appearing in this accelerated system. So pseudo force is what? It is a virtual force. Actually, this is not a real force. Why? Because this force is not actually coming from somewhere. But what is this force? Is this force non-inertial frame? Non-inertial frame means accelerated frame. If we are in an accelerated frame, the bus is accelerating. Okay, so in non-accelerated frames, in opposite direction of acceleration, so that force is called pseudo force. So what definition we can write? So definition of pseudo force you can write is we take observation, when we take observation from a non-inertial frame, from a non-inertial frame, from a non-inertial frame. So what does it mean? Non-inertial frame means accelerated frame actually, accelerated frame. So from any accelerated frame, if you take the measurement or if you do some experiment, if we are going to take, if you do some, we are going to observe some phenomena, then we write the virtual force, that is called pseudo force. So in this example, if you say the example of bus, if I say the example of bus, the bus is accelerating forward. So this person will experience a force in backward direction. So why this is force is appearing? Because we are taking the observations on that person inside the bus. We are looking at this person from inside, so that person is appearing to move in backward direction. So or he is experiencing a force in backward direction. Okay, similarly on the bike, or there are many examples. If brake is applied, the force, the person feels force in forward direction. So these are the examples of pseudo force. So pseudo force, if you see, if we want to quantify it, or first we will take the example, then we will try to quantify it. Example is force experienced by us in a bus when starts suddenly or stops suddenly. Okay, so this is one example. Then another example we can take, if you are in a car, the car is taking a turn. So if car is taking a turn, you will feel a force in the sideways direction towards the window. So that also you would have experienced. If you are in a car, and the car is taking a turn, suppose a car is there. If this car is taking a turn, then you feel a force. If you are sitting here, you will feel a force in this direction, away from the center. So this is also example of pseudo force, because the car is accelerated. When an object moves in a circular motion, that is in centripetal acceleration. Okay, so these things we will study in detail, but for now we can say that if the car is accelerated, it is in circular motion, all objects inside it will experience a force in the direction away from the center. Okay, so this is also the example. So second example we can take sideways force experienced by person in car, experienced by person in car taking a turn. Okay, this is also the example. Similarly, when you are in a lift, suppose the lift starts or the lift stops, you feel slightly lighter when the lift is going to stop while going upward, and similarly when the lift starts you feel slightly heavier. So that is also example of pseudo force. So when a lift starts or stops, we experience a slight change in our apparent weight. We experience slight change in our apparent weight. So this is also example of pseudo force. So these are examples of pseudo force. So why in lift we are experiencing? Because lift is also accelerating. When the lift starts, the lift is accelerating upward, and when the lift stops, at that time also lift is stopping. So means it is decelerating. So in that case, in those cases we experience the pseudo force. So now we will quantify it. How much is the pseudo force acting? So the value of pseudo force, how much is the value? This is virtual force. So this will not have a Newton's third law pair. Okay, so this you can write as a point. It will not have a action reaction pair. Why? Because this is not a force actually. This is just an observation which gives an experience of force. Means this is not a real force, but if you take observation from some other some moving from accelerated frame, we have a experience like a force, but that is not a real force. So does not have action reaction pair. Does not have action reaction pair. Okay. Now we will see value of pseudo force, how much is this. So this force is proportional to negative of acceleration of system. Why negative? Because you can see if the bus accelerates forward, you feel the force in backward direction. That's why negative sign. And negative sign, why negative sign? Because you experience the force in opposite direction of acceleration. If the bus stops, so you are having what? Deceleration, or you are having acceleration in negative direction. In that case, you experience the force in forward direction. So what we can say is the force is proportional to negative of the acceleration. Okay, this is one thing. Now second thing we can say is larger the acceleration. If the bus stops suddenly, means very hard brake is applied, you experience very large force. Okay, so this is proportional to the value of acceleration also. And second thing is it is proportional to mass of the object. This is mass of object. So how this is coming, I will discuss it. And this is acceleration of system. Acceleration of system. This is acceleration of system and this is mass of object. So what does it mean? So suppose you are in a bus, and in the bus, if you have different people, suppose you have a thin man and you have a fat man. Okay, they are holding the some rod is there and they are holding the rod. Suppose the brake is applied suddenly. The fat man will have the larger chances to fall because of his larger mass, because of his larger inertia. And larger the inertia, larger the force will act. So all the things, the forces, all the pseudo force will also be large. So this is proportional to mass of the object. So if a heavy person is there inside the bus and the brake is applied, he will experience the larger force. And if he experiences larger force, he will have the more chances to fall. Okay, so what we can say is the pseudo force is equal to, we write pseudo force is equal to ma not with negative sign. Okay, so this is the value of pseudo force. So while solving the problems, we will see how this is exactly applied